Hello everybody and welcome to this video. Today we will be typing putting it all out there. One hell of a name if I do say so myself. As you can see by the title of this video, we have typed putting it all out there, or we'll call her Pudding for short, ESFP. Let's go over what it means to be an ESFP, how being an ESFP manifests uniquely inside of her, different subtypes she may be, and how she could potentially grow. Let's start with the base function, that is extroverted sensing. In its simplest form, extroverted sensing deals with unexpected physical variables and living life more in the moment. It's dealing with sensory information without necessarily planning for it. It's about being able to be hit with these unexpected variables and dealing with them in a skillful way. Pudding put a lot of detail in her replies. However, I will be showing the most relevant points that point to her having certain functions. When I asked her how she saw the world, she said, "I see the world as essentially a massive, interesting, and fascinating place where literally anything can happen, both extremely positive and extremely negative. Like, just when I thought I've seen it all, something even more impressive comes by and blows my mind. I'm always hearing about these insane stories like Mr. Beast purchasing an entire $70,000 pizza. Seeing pictures of absurd food and scenery and places that's constantly making me go, no way, is that really a thing? Like there's such thing as an island full of cats, and Las Vegas is just an endless stream of flashing lights and liveliness, so much though it's like a dream come true. And there's literally a building in Dubai that holds a world record for height, and it's just so indescribably beautiful inside and out. This might be because I'm young, but this kind of stuff impresses the shit out of me, and I haven't even scratched the surface of it all, not even close." Here we see that Pudding is fascinated by all the unknown physical variables in the world. I want to accentuate a certain word that I added in there, physical. Pudding is not bringing up metaphysical concepts and how they link together, nor the potential of certain things. Pudding is intrigued and curious about a lot of unknown variables in her physical environments. She sees all these unknown physical variables and relishes them. She is able to deal with all of these variables, while keeping herself open to new ones. Additionally, we see an inclination for SE over NI when I asked her to tell me about how she adapted to unexpected events happening around her that pose a threat to her and what she's doing. She replied with, "My first instinct is to get that threat off of me and get back to what I'm doing. If water starts leaking on my laptop or something while I'm at Starbucks, I'll just move. If my cat is sitting on my keyboard and preventing me from doing what I'm doing, I'll pick him up and put him on the bed or something. I'll haul ass or do whatever I need to do to make sure my stuff's not being threatened." Here, we see a direct emphasis on action. She is not trying to make a plan or see what may be making that happen. She is very reactive to that physical stimuli and takes care to react to that stimuli right away. Therefore, I think she's a good example of base SE positive, which looks for unexpected and unpredictable sensory experiences. He is able to manipulate and do well with them. He has a tendency to live in the moment. He mainly trusts in his ability to deal with things as they come compared to his ability to foresee it. Next, let's move over to the second function, or as we call it, the skill function, which would be introverted feeling. Introverted feeling is about personal sentimentality and morality between close relationships. Introverted feeling does not only deal with one-on-one relationships, but also one's personal feelings on a certain issue. It's about understanding their own sentiments and the sentiments of those who are very close to them. FI in the skill slot tries to use FI responsibly to achieve goals or whatever they set out to do. We can see this in Pudding's answer when she says, "I like voice chatting on Discord because there are so many servers that pertain to my interests, and consequently people who share the same interests as me. I discover so much cool stuff and have so many exciting discussions about MBTI with these people. And it also gives me a chance to share the crazy stories and memes that no one in my real life would get. And honestly, even if I'm not talking about MBTI, it gives me an opportunity to be unhinged and excited, even when I'm sitting around at home alone, while none of my friends are available. It's just a massive burst of excitement, and life would be stale without things like this. Also, one thing I do on here is I send friend requests to pretty much every person who talks to me. And I'm telling you, that has opened so many doors that I would have never otherwise known about if I didn't reach out. I've made so many friendships by doing this, got invited to a lot of unlisted Discord servers by doing this, got a bunch of neat MBTI PDFs by doing this. It's just endless. Discord allows me to get involved in my passions in ways IRL could never even dream of. I wanted to highlight something about Pudding's response here. She uses these close relationships to spring herself forward in what she wants to learn about, what she likes, and her ideas. By sending one-on-one friend requests to quite a few people, she was able to gain information and access to exclusive groups and servers. She is able to use these connections to expand herself in unique ways. We especially see FI when I asked her to tell her about the friendships in her life. Despite having added like almost 800 people on Discord, I actually have a small group of true friends in my life. These friends are the best of the best. I always feel elated after hanging out with them. We uplift each other. We take each other out to eat, try out new places, laugh our asses off, enjoy each other's company, and accept each other completely, flaws and all. Those are my truest, best friends. Those kind are rare as fuck, and I'm extremely lucky to have them. I hope to meet more of these types of people as I go on in life. Here, we see the exclusivity in her personal relationships. It's clear in how she utilizes her skills that she prefers one-on-one interaction to more of a group style. To her, these close bonds are her true friends. They're the truest, bluest, and the best of the best. These friendships often help to expand herself. As you can see, her and her group of true friends ping everything off of each other, and they help bring each other up through life. Therefore, I'm certain that she exemplifies FI positive in the skilled slot by viewing personal relationships and morality between close relationships as something of great importance. Often pings ideas off of their own sentiments and the sentiments of those around them, able to form bonds and bridge gaps with skill. Next, let's move on to Deity TE. First, a philosophy that she holds dear to her heart is objectivism. She linked me to a 2-minute video, which I will leave in the description for anyone who is interested. It promotes doing what works in the real world. It also encourages for someone to focus on themselves and respect people's right to be themselves. She also revealed a little bit about this information when she said, "As for the HTML and CSS thing, just in general, even when I was a little kid, I was always interested in making my web pages and welcome pages stand out from everyone else's. While most people had the default pale blue background, I wanted to be the one that had Nyan Cat and Lightning and marquee text on it. As I got older, I discovered more outlets for that, and now my main outlet is subreddits. In one of the ones I got moderator permission on, I figured out how to make animated flares, and even though it took hours, it was so satisfying to make it work. That kind of stuff just always appealed to me from a young age, and that's one of the reasons why I'm looking into making a living out of it." As you can see, the information she learns is directly applied. When doing something logically, she considers if it will work for what she wants to do and what she wants to achieve. For example, the information she learned about HTML was directly applied to what she wanted to accomplish with flares and backgrounds. Along with her philosophy in this information, I think it's quite easy to type her Deity TE neutral, which loves pragmatism and applied logic and tries to apply it to many areas in their life. They will often try to enrich their actions and events they have already indulged in with these facts, even if they are not directly related. Next, we move on to Inferior NI. Well, I believe one quote sums up her beliefs on the topic really well. This might get controversial here. I would remove anything and everything that restricts/limits people's freedom in literally any way. It's prevalent in her writing that she does not want to be restricted in what she can do or believe. She wants freedom to do as she pleases and when she pleases. She inherently does not respect a singular vision, which is what NI mainly stands for. After all, having a vision about how the future and life should be limits quite a bit. I think it's safe to say that she has NI negative in the inferior slot, which completely rejects a singular vision of how life should be, as I find it too constraining and limiting. Will critique restraints and advocate more for an absolute freedom. Next, we move on to the nemesis function, which would be introverted sensing. Introverted sensing is about repeatable actions and systems. It's about repetition and knowing what to expect. Nemesis SI inherently fears this. We can see this in her answer that directly responds to my question of, "What do you fear?" She responds by saying, "I think my greatest fear is being trapped in every sense of the word. I can't stand the idea of marriage, for example. I can't stand the idea of military basic training. I could never. I can't stand the idea of being a nun or some shit where everything is regulated by some corrupt old man. That scares the absolute shite out of me, and I would do anything it takes to escape it if it gets to that point. For me, that's a fate as undesirable as death, being hopelessly brainwashed and forced to be in something I don't want to, and not being able to pursue my passions. That isn't even my life anymore. If I can't make my own meaning, there is nothing. I'll smash windows and kick nuts and throw chairs to get away. That is the quickest way to reduce me to pure animalistic apeshit. I'm also really scared of elevators. She is afraid of systems like marriage and military basic training. She loathes the idea of these repetitious acts getting in the way of her freedom. I'd say a function in this slot is as clear as daylight to see. She obviously has SI negative in the Nemesis position, which inherently is scared of repeatable actions and systems that are not his own. As a result, he completely rejects the notion of being tied to one. He is a maverick and does not want to be blocked into a system that is not of his own making or of his own choice. Next, let's move on to the critic function, which would be critic extroverted feeling. Out of all of her responses, she pings her notion for what is moral for society based off of her own values and what she thinks is the best for everyone else. An example of this is when I asked her to tell me about how she views society. I think society can be pretty cool if you network and connect with the right people, but overall I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary ass stereotypes and pressure that gets enforced within it. Things like toxic masculinity, for example, can be really damaging, and we really need none of that. Like really, people got enough issues in day-to-day life to be worrying if, did I put the right matching lipstick with my dress? Am I socially accepted? Like that's really not important once you realize a person's life is their own, and constantly trying to live up to others' expectations is a one-way ticket to yikes. If a person doesn't like you for you, that's their problem. As we can see, not only does she have harsh judgments for external group sentiments, but her judgments on how those group sentiments in society should be directly relate to her own morals and sentimentality on the issue. For example, what about the people that benefit and like said stereotypes? What about the people that like applying pressure and being pressured? What about the people that don't believe in toxic masculinity, or believe that masculinity in and of itself is not toxic? She then proceeds to mock people that seek social validation. These harsh judgments come off as very open when you first read them, but when you look into them, they're centered on her own perception and beliefs about how life should be. Therefore, I'm confident that she has FE negative in the critic slot, which tends to be critical of others' opinions on moral issues involving society or a large group. He is critical of group sentiments and how they are used. He is prone to harsh judgments based on these beliefs and holds them close to his heart. Sees more of the flaws with group sentiments. Next, we move on to Trickster TI. Not only is her philosophy directly against logical systems, but in the whole conversation, she didn't really bring up a TI-related concept. With her philosophy and outlook on life, she directly rejects logical systems as a way of rationalizing existence. She is a perfect example of TI negative in the Trickster slot, which knows their weakness to logical systems, so they completely deny it. Tends to hold the opinion that life has too many changing variables to make sense of it all and prefers to take facts as they come. Lastly, we move on to the demon function, which in her case is extroverted intuition. This is very obvious considering she directly said it in what's her goal in life, but I'll go over it anyway. She obviously has any positive in the demon slot, which acts like different perspectives and linking abstract ideas are not valued, but deeply desires them. Life goal is to explore and find out what the world has to offer. An overarching theme in her writing and stuff she directly addresses always goes to a fascination with the unknown and the desire to explore it. She wants to see what life has to offer, enjoy it, and get something from it. There we have it. Those are her charges, but what about her focuses? I think that it's clear she has an SEFI focus. Throughout her writing, she heavily accentuates not only living in the moment, but her close friendships and how much they mean to her. She accentuates how her bonds help her grow and expand herself in numerous ways as a person. For her burst function, I think it is clear she is SE burst. She is very skilled in taking in chaotic physical information that others would have problems processing. She is able to live in the moment and highly values the physically unknown. Now, what are some ways that she could grow and improve? Well, the first and most obvious way is to accept that limits are placed on humans for a reason. If humans did not need order or direction, people would not flock to it in the first place. Too much of anything is bad, and human nature left unchecked can turn cancerous. Acknowledging systems would probably help her in the future. In addition, I recommend that she opens up in accepting other people's sentiments for what they are. I recommend she goes more outside of herself to expand on these group sentiments and what they could mean. Lastly, I recommend that she tries to grow on her weakness in logical systems. Logical systems not only work to make sense of the world, but to give life meaning and to determine what is actually the truth. Sometimes there is more than what meets the eye, or in this case, what can be directly applied. Overall, we see that Pudding is a girl who's very skilled at being in the moment and accounting for chaotic physical variables. She values her friends and grows with them on a close and personal level. She uses close relationships to springboard herself forward to what she wants to do. She loves practical and pragmatic information that can be used to advance herself in her life and her interests. She does not like the idea of being limited in any way and seeks to avoid it as much as possible. She is often very critical with group sentiments and is often slow to take on new ideas in that department. She is also not one for logical systems and prefers to take data as it can be applied. She wants to explore and live life to the fullest, to get something unique out of it, and to smile at the end of it all. That's our typing for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you guys for watching, and farewell.